I think we have to remember that our vision, our goals, our dreams are more important to us than they are to other people. And not to say that people don't care about your dreams, they don't care about your vision, but they're willing to let you compromise in areas that don't align with where you're going so that you can get to your dream. They're willing to let you do that because your dream isn't as important to them as it is to you.
No, it's never been the right time. Like we're holding back the storyline. And I'm waiting at the end of the night, thinking of you.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Call Your Mom podcast. Woo! We are so excited you are here. Today is a very special message. We're going to talk all about vision. And with 2025 right around the corner, it's something I think we definitely need to talk about. And we're going to talk about how to create a vision, what it looks like, and why is it so hard to determine that in your 20s. So let's get started. Mom, what is it about vision that is so hard when you're young to like picture it? It's almost hard because you're thinking about your future and you're so excited, but it's also like kind of hard because you almost don't know yourself. So tell me a little bit about that now in your 40s and then also when you were in your 20s and what you were walking through.
So I would say that when you're younger, one of the hardest things about having a vision for yourself, and I think there's some people that just are the exception, not the rule, but most of us are the rule. I think it's very hard for us to have a vision for ourselves because we have so many expectations that others have placed on us, maybe like our parents, our friends, social media. Then we've taken social media's expectations and placed them on ourselves. And And I think a lot of times we don't know ourselves. So we are doing everything everybody else wants or what we think we should be doing. And the vision that we have for ourselves kind of gets blurred because we don't really know who we are or what we want yet. And I think in your 20s, it's a time to learn what that is. And I think pretty much your whole life, you're always changing. So you're always learning what it is you want. And, your vision constantly changes. I mean, a lot of it will stay the same, but some of it's going to change as you get older. And I think as I've gotten into my 40s, I've realized that in my 30s is when I really started to get to know myself and started to shed a lot of what other people had said I should be or what I should be doing. And I think I started to get to know myself a little more and learn who I want to be and what I want to be and what that looks like for my life. I think that that's how you learn.
I love that because even lately with life being here in a different city, different area, you start to kind of think more to yourself because there aren't certain pressures that maybe are at home in your normal environment with your friends, your family. So there's a little bit of excitement because you kind of can reinvent yourself a little bit. Does that make sense? And so there's none of these pressures. So you can kind of think about like what you want, what I desire, what I want to do without any of the noise, right? Without any of your friends' input, your family's input. I mean, you still get social media unless you take social media breaks. However, it was kind of exciting to kind of navigate that to bring in a little bit of what's happening right now in my life, right? And I just recently turned 28. So if you guys haven't listened to last week's episode, go listen to that. It's all about, my early 20s and stuff like that. But carrying that episode into this episode and to what my mom is saying, from my early 20s to now my late 20s and 2 years away from my 30s, I will say there's a big difference around what I want, how I know things about myself, what I've discovered about myself, and on the other side of going through certain trials and even college, dating, marriage, to now on the other side of a lot of those things, I know so much more about myself, and I needed to walk through a lot of that in order to get to here where I am now. And now I have such a clear vision of that because I've learned about myself over the years. And I think that's kind of what your 20s are all about, is discovering yourself. And I think that's also what makes having like a vision so hard.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of you shoulds, and this is what you need to do or who you need to be, especially with social media. You guys really have it hard. I didn't have that in my early 20s. So the influence was, yeah, from magazines and TV and stuff. But honestly, that noise wasn't as accessible. You could really shut it off. And I think social media is harder to shut off for us because we do go on there for entertainment, fashion, fun, whatever. And a lot of times there's a lot of noise coming back at us about how we should be living our lives and who we should be.
That is so true, which kind of brings me to the first question, right? Which is like,
Mhm.
why are young women today feeling so lost, right? Why are we feeling so lost when it comes to deciding that vision for ourselves and envisioning that? And I think social media is one of those noises, and it's kind of telling you who you should be versus you deciding who you should be. And so there's all the different cores, right? There's like the trad wife, there's the bass, not Chuck Bass, the boss wife. Okay. Rewind. There's the trad wife, there's the boss life, there's the, boss girl life. There's, you know, living in a fairy tale land. I don't know, whatever
Fitness.
it
I
may
think there's
be.
the fitness life, the whole like what is it, like whole food life? Like I think there's like so many different versions of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of different versions of people, and they're all telling you what you should and shouldn't do. And that is very, very hard when it comes down to fashion, health, fitness, everything under the sun, right? So figuring out who you are, what aligns with you is very, very hard. And a lot of those things too that come at us on social media highlight the problems that are already
Mhm.
happening, right? So whether that's, you know, economic, career uncertainties, all of these things are highlighted within social media as well. So then we're also hearing like the negative things.
Yeah. I think it is difficult to get to know what the vision is we want for our life because we turn to social media. We turn external, we look externally outward to find answers, and we forget that we need to look internally and to spend time with ourselves and get to know ourselves. And that's where a lot of the answers about what the vision will look like for our lives will come from. Yes, you can get ideas from other places, but ultimately you're going to get a vision for your life from looking inward and getting to know you.
Yeah. And to highlight back, because we're jumping ahead here. I don't want to jump ahead. I want to highlight these are some of the these are some of the issues why we're lost, right? Like,
Mhm.
so social media is one of them, but think about all the different there's other pressures outside of that. What if student loans,
Mhm.
debt, buying a house? When should I buy my house? Should I get a new car? Keeping up with the Joneses is a really big thing that a lot of young people struggle with. And then that straps them into a career maybe they don't like. So then we're struggling with whether or not we should go do something or change a career because we're scared. We're scared of leaving that career. We have uncertainty. Maybe we can't even climb the ladder. Whatever it is, we kind of get stuck and we're not able to actually chase after that vision that we're looking for because of all these different pressures. And what that is a huge thing is the economic side of things, right?
Mhm.
I think for me, a big thing for me last year when I was deciding to start a business, deciding to do this podcast, I really had this vision in my life and I did not enjoy working for someone else all the time. I really wanted to make sure that I was able to spend my time the way I wanted to. And I was kind of sick of being in this rat race, right? And that is a vision that I kept on having and I couldn't figure out how I was going to achieve it. And so you know, there's a bottom right here where like you kind of just hit the bottom and you're like, well, I can only go up from now, so I might as well take the chance. And when you finally just take the chance, and me and my business mentor talk about this a lot. When you actually just reduce your lifestyle and you take a pause in whatever it is. I mean, Dave Ramsey's one of those people. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he says beans and rice, right? Take a step back. Maybe don't go on the vacation. Maybe don't buy the new clothes for a year, whatever it is for a year and see how it can change your life just by taking a step back. just by saying, okay, I'm not going to do these things. I'm not going to keep up with the Joneses. I'm just going to dig in. And this is what I really see for my life. But a lot of women and a lot of people they don't do that. They don't take a step back. They just see, I want this, I want that, I want this. And social media is another, influence there, right? Because you're seeing all these things, you're seeing people doing this, especially at a young age. It's a huge impact. And then people get stuck in a career they don't want, or maybe they get stuck in a job they don't like, or maybe they want to start a podcast like this and they don't take the chance because of these different things. So, whatever it is your vision is, you know, don't allow don't allow society or different things to stop you. Align yourself with it and then say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I think in the last podcast, ironically, I talked about this. I talked about taking 5 steps backwards in order to go forward. And sometimes that's the case. You got to take those 5 steps backwards, right?
I 100% agree with you. I think sometimes it's good to practice the pause and kind of take a step back and reflect on the things that are in your life right now, the direction you're currently going, and asking yourself, does this align with the vision that I have for my life? What do I want my life to look like in a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And I think a lot of times we're so busy, like you said, in the career, in the relationship, looking at social media, keeping up with the Joneses, we're going, that we forget to kind of take a step back and reflect on where we are and where we want to be, right? And I think I agree with you. I think a lot of external pressure is on young women today that has caused them to probably lose a lot of vision about who they want to be and where they want to go. I think there's a lot of external pressure, like you said, careers, relationships, social media, all kinds of different issues. And I think a lot of times it just causes people to feel confused about what they truly want in their life. And I think that makes it difficult. So,
no, I agree. I completely agree. And it does kind of cause a little bit of anxiety. And I
yeah.
think because people get scared of, I'm not actually going to live the life that I want to.
Mm-hmm.
So, being around women who are older than me, I'm often around my mom's friends all the time. I have had jobs in the past where I'm surrounded by women who are older than me. And a lot of the times, and you could speak for yourself, Mom, you always want to speak to young women and just say, don't let those fears stop you, or don't, anxiety, fear, don't let them stop you from just, going out. And I always, in doing what you envision for your life. And you've always said that to me, right? You've always said, just spread your little wings, butterfly, do whatever you want to do. You've never put pressure on me or my brothers to go a certain direction. You've always let us kind of live our lives. So, is that still the same advice from you today? Is that still true to your heart? And what would you add on to that? Would you add on to maybe any of what I just said when it comes to the mental side of the vision that people see for themselves?
I would like to add that not only is it important to let go of what other people think and to kind of push aside your fear and step into courage and take a leap of faith to go after what you want, I absolutely encourage it. I think that when you're young, that is the time to spread your little wings, butterfly, like you said, and go after what you want. I think a lot of times we, as young women, live in so much fear of what other people think. But first of all, what other people think is none of your business. And second of all, they're probably not thinking about you, especially as much as you think they are. A lot of times I think we think people are thinking about what we're doing with our lives and we're so worried about what they're going to think. But what we should be worried about is how we're going to feel in the years to come when we didn't actually pursue what it is that we wanted to do. And I think that's the advice I would give young women, that whatever it looks like, if you just want to be, and it's not just want to be, if you want to be a stay-home mom and just care for your babies, great. If you want to be a go-getter in a career, great. If you want to be a fitness girl, great. Whatever it is that you want, go after it and chase after it because it's your time. And I think a lot of times the worst thing that could happen is that you regret not finding out because you didn't go after it.
I love that. I really love that answer. And it is really true because of all those different pressures that we have. It's like, I mean, I've even caught myself in it so many times where I'm like, well, what if this person thinks that? I think I even had a boyfriend once who was like, oh, you should be a nurse or a school teacher. And I was like, what? I have to be one of those?
Yeah,
I don't think I have to be one of those. I can be whatever I want. My mom told me so. If my
exactly.
mom's telling you,
I
she's
am.
giving you permission.
Don't let people put you in a box. I think a lot of times we let people put us in a box and we forget that we're so much more than just one thing or another, that we're multifaceted. And I really encourage young women to explore all the different parts of them that, they're interested in and find out what they like and what they don't like.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's get into the whole practical, right? So I'm sure a lot of us, and I have done this myself. Actually, I've done a lot of reflection on this. What is a vision? Why is it just like hard to create? How do I create it? And a lot of girls are just like, create a vision board. Like, okay, that's great. And I know it helps. However, sometimes it's a lot harder to come to that conclusion. And I know this year, and a lot of times I've mentioned it multiple times on this podcast. And the first point that we have on our notes together, right, Mom, is about finding your values. Over the last year, essentially, I have really dove into core values. Mom, you've watched me really walk through this. And I have never really thought about it before, if I'm honest. I never like listed my core values. And when people talk about core values, they often talk about like, they think like honesty or, I don't know, like courage or whatever it is. But your core values aren't necessarily like those words. Your core values are going to be what you want most of your time to be spent on. And for me, that was my family, my friends, and for me, it was financial. So, and financial isn't necessarily career. It could be just feeling secure with your finances, right? So, that is where I spent a lot of my time. And that's how I figured out my core values were. And as you change, your core values will change. But my core values did allow me to start creating a life where I got to live out more of a vision for myself. I became more happy. I wasn't stuck feeling like I didn't have time or I was sluggish. I actually felt like, oh, I'm choosing to spend my time in areas I actually enjoyed and wanted. And that was a part of developing a vision for my life. Like, so Mom, when did this kind of happen for you? Did you ever do this in your 30s or your 20s?
So for me, it was in my late 30s when I started doing that. I was so busy, raising three kids and all that good stuff. I really wasn't thinking about that as much. I think I was just kind of going through the motions. And I think a lot of what I learned about myself was kind of in I guess my early 30s and into my late 30s. So a lot of the values and the things that I assessed, like what was draining my energy, what gave me energy, what did I like, what didn't I not like, and I think a lot of things that we don't realize go into building a vision for our life are those things. And I really started doing that, yeah, in my early 30s, I would say, when you guys got older. Then I started really focusing on myself more and saying to myself, what do I want to do? What do I see later in life? Who do I want to be?
Well, what are your values now? And then what were your values when you're younger?
So I don't even think I recognized what values were when I was younger. So it wasn't like something I really talked about. I think to me, values were, like you said, being honest, just being a good person, that kind of thing. Being a good mom, I valued that, being a good parent and a good friend. But I think now that I'm older, my values definitely have changed. And I think mine are a lot like similar to yours. Mine are family, friendship, finances. And mine isn't just necessarily like, finances for a career, but mine's financial, freedom to be able to do the things that I want to pursue and to enjoy my life. So yeah, mine are pretty similar to yours, which
I was
makes
like, I
sense.
don't think they're pretty similar. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I said.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense. We're very similar.
Yes. Okay. So, along with this, when you're kind of developing your vision for your life, and it's not just like looks and this cute little puppy dog from a magazine and this look from Pinterest that I'm going to put on a vision board, some of those things are the non negotiables in lives. And so, when you know your non negotiables, that's a game changer. So, like, one of my non negotiables was I didn't want to work like an 80-hour work week, 60-hour work week. That just wasn't who I was. And I'm not that like hustle type of person. And I didn't want to fall in a hustle culture. However, I have friends who they love it, they thrive off of it. That is amazing for them. But for me, that was my non negotiable. And I wanted
Mhm.
to learn, how could I create space in my life to do what I love? Right. So, one of those things you need to ask yourself is what are your non negotiables? So, mom, what are some of your non negotiables?
Oh my gosh, I'm on the spot here. So, some of my non negotiables are energy drainers in people. So, I am very protective of my peace, and I am not a person that is going to allow chaos into my life. That is a non negotiable for me. I grew up in chaos, and I have decided that that is no longer going to be part of my life. That is a non negotiable. Another non negotiable for me is spending my time places that I don't want to be. So I think a lot of times people, will compromise and get themselves in uncomfortable situations because they feel bad for other people. They want to make other people happy. And I'm not saying, you absolutely tell people no, but there's been places I've been invited and I simply say no because they don't align with who I am and where I'm going in my life. And I do not want to be there. So that is a non negotiable for me. I won't compromise if it in an area of being someplace when it doesn't align with who I am and what I'm trying to build and where I want to go in my life.
I feel like having non negotiables are great for your vision,
Yeah.
right? Like some people, I heard on a podcast once, this girl was like, I don't go to dinner reservations past 7 p.m. Well, because it didn't align with what her vision for her life was. So she's like, invite me at 6, I'll be there.
Yeah.
But anything past 7 p.m. doesn't align with, and she's a health fitness influencer.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, like the non negotiables are just as important in your life as what you envision. Those are the boundaries that you set in your life so that you make sure you get to the vision that you're envisioning in your head. You get to the destination you're actually wanting. And boundaries are another thing that are a part of that. And when you don't know those, they're hard to set them for people. And that's when we get in trouble. We get mad, we get this, and we're not going towards what we want. So setting boundaries is so, so important. And it is part of that. And no one ever thinks about that. No one ever says you should set boundaries so that you're going to reach your goals.
Yeah. I
That's
think
actually a huge step, a part of creating a vision.
Oh, totally. And I think we have to remember that our vision, our goals, our dreams are more important to us than they are to other people. And not to say that people don't care about your dreams, they don't care about your vision, but they're willing to let you compromise in areas that don't align with where you're going so that you can get to your dream. They're willing to let you do that because your dream isn't as important to them as it is to you. So you have to
Yep.
have non-negotiables. You have to know what you want and align your life with those things, the actions that you take every day and your boundaries and your non-negotiables and your values with that vision. And then you have to stand firm in them because other people aren't going to appreciate your dream and be as eager for you to get there as you are. So I really
Oh, I
agree with
love
you
that.
on that. Yeah.
It's so true. And as you guys are listening to this, as you could see, we are kind of creating a list of things that you can do so that you can create a vision for yourself,
Yeah.
So you went through your values, write those
Mhm.
down. We're going through your non-negotiables, right? Now, where do you want to take risk in your life, right? Sometimes you have to take a little bit of risk and try some new things in order to figure out what it is that you actually enjoy or what you want to do.
Yeah.
Maybe that is getting on a microphone and actually trying to record a podcast. Maybe that's going to a pottery class because you want to develop new friends. Whatever it is, there's a little bit of risk. So, what is that you want to develop? So, like this next year, for example, one of our goals was to be really consistent on this podcast, right? We did that this last year. But next year, we want to have like guests on, right? We got to take a little bit of a risk by sending a message and being like, hey, would you like to be on our podcast? Right. We got to actually try it. And nor like we haven't even had a guest on. We don't even know how that would work or what we would ask them or what we want them to. But we have to actually go out and try, right? Just like when we wanted to do the podcast, we actually had to try it first. We didn't even know if this was going to be what we wanted. But there's a little bit of risk in trying to figure out what the vision is you want for your life.
Which leads back to last week's podcast again, when you were talking about messy action and just taking the action and letting the thing lead to the thing that might be your thing.
Yes, that's a must listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about how taking messy action allows you to learn. And then when you learn, you're able to fix and develop. And then when you're able to fix and develop, you're able to build on that. And then when you build on that, you eventually build a vision for your life. Because
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that happens with us is we're scared to actually fail. So, a lot of the time when you are developing a vision for your life, you're going to have a lot of failure in it because you're still learning on what it actually is you're going after. And sometimes you don't even know what you're doing. You're just kind of doing it and figuring it out as you go along. And that's it with anything in life. I mean, that's parenting, that's getting married, that's buying a car, making financial decisions, anything in life, there's probably going to be risk to it. And you're probably going to fail a little bit in certain areas because no one is perfect. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure all of us in our early 20s have bought something very expensive and we shouldn't have, right? We've probably all done that, whether that's a car or even just a purse or a vacation or I mean, you live and you learn and you figure it out as you go along. But the sooner that you're able to figure it out and learn from those lessons, the more you could build upon them and start to like see what you do and do not like.
Yeah.
It's a messy
100%.
action.
Yeah. I agree. I think that, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think something that we should add to the list is energy drainers, what gives you energy and what drains your energy. I think that's so important when you are
I
learning
felt
to
like
build a
that went with
vision.
non-negotiables.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you could talk about it though. I feel like I totally went with non-negotiables because I feel
Yeah.
like you can go under that column.
Okay. Yeah, totally. I think it could be the same, but I was just saying, paying attention to what gives you energy and what like drains your energy. I think a lot of times we forget to pay attention to those things. And there's things that give us life, that give us joy, that, give us bursts of energy we could do for and not notice the time has passed. And then there are things that we begrudgingly do and we don't enjoy, but then we continue to do them. And that could be for any area of life. And I think a lot of times that's a good cue as to if you can't figure out what you want to do in your life, that sometimes can be a good cue as to how to shape your vision. And I think I wanted to just kind of touch on that because I think a lot of people have a hard time. They're like, well, what should I do? And those are good cues in life to pay attention to.
No, I like that. That's so true. Because I totally agree. I sometimes feel though differently because there's some things I don't want to be like a career thing, or there's some things I don't want it to be like this. I enjoy doing and I'm really good at it. But however, I don't want it to be that long haul thing, even though I do get a lot of energy or something from it. I think you've said that with painting where you're like, I love painting. I'm really good at it, but I don't want to like monetize it or it be this big thing. So on the side note to that, I feel like looking at that list, you don't have to make everything a part of your vision in this big, necessarily like it has to be this career choice, it has to be this go out and figure it out and go do that. I think there's a little bit of not everything in that you enjoy and love and do like that has to be like go out and make money and make it this. It could just be something you like to do for fun and it brings you joy and it brings you happiness in your life. Some people I know it's like riding a horse. Maybe that brings you joy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's knitting. I don't know, but it doesn't have to become this like start an Instagram and start doing that, just so you're aware. So I think a lot of times when we're building visions, it doesn't have to actually be a career vision. It could be just things that you do enjoy and like in your life.
Absolutely.
Okay, so setting short-term goals was our next one. And so when you're creating a vision, right? So this one's this one is different than long-term goals, and here's why. Okay, long-term goals, you're thinking way off into the future. Short-term goals are shorter and more achievable and actually like trigger your brain to be like, oh my gosh, I actually can do this. It's just like when you're writing a list in your day. I'm a list writer, right? Mom, I think you are too. Um, when you're writing a list, I often like to check off the things that are the easiest things to get done in the morning because then I'm like, oh my gosh, my list is halfway done, right? So when I'm actually I do social media for clients, one of the number one things I'll do and check off is communication stuff and posting for clients. So that's like number one on the list. And then when I have half that done, or when I have that done, I'm like, wow, my day's almost done. Well, I feel like I actually achieved something. So I feel like when you set short term goals, they're allowing you to basically create little visions for your life throughout the year or throughout time. And it's telling you, like, I could do it. I got this, if that makes sense.
Totally. I love that. Yes, 100% agree. I don't really have much to add to that because I absolutely believe that creating short-term goals is so important because it's like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So I totally agree with you on that. I think it helps you stay motivated and keeps momentum toward wherever it is you're trying to go. So I don't really have much to
Exactly. Because they're like little bite sizes, like you
Yes.
said.
Yeah.
You don't have to like, it's like, you see this big vision, like people like when they do their vision boards or their visions, it's like, I'm going to have a Range Rover. Well, that's great. I'm so excited that you're going to have a Range Rover. And I believe in you that you're going to have that Range Rover. However, what are the steps that you're going to take in between for that? And maybe your vision doesn't even have to be that big. Maybe it's just like you simply just want more. I don't know, you want to read more in your life. Like that could be a part of your vision, you know? That is so simple, but it's like, okay, how am I going to achieve that in my life? Well, let me start with maybe just starting to choose one day a week and I'm going to read for 10 minutes long. Just that. You could
That
do
was
that.
Reading was actually one of my goals in my big life vision for last year. What I ended up doing was I went and got a library card. That was the first step. And then I started checking out books and I just made time a couple nights a week. And then it started being every night a week to just read a couple pages. And then I just started reading more. Yeah, reading definitely can be on your vision board.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a part of the vision of your life, whatever that
Yes.
may be.
Mm-hmm.
See, we got all kinds of things here, okay? So I
Yes.
think we're on like step 4 or 5 if you include everything at this point,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Let's go through okay. We had values,
Yes.
we had non-negotiables, we had your energy drainers and energy
Givers.
builders,
Yes.
or givers, builders, givers, whatever you want to call them. Then we went through and talked about drawing a blank here. Help me, mom.
Oh, short-term goals.
Short-term goals. Okay, thank
Yes.
you so much.
You're welcome. I got you.
Okay, you guys got to write these all down. And then you got to take a picture of your paper and send it to us because we want to help you. But we're not done yet. Number 5 and your last one. Okay. Okay. So when you're looking at your overall year, and this is kind of going to go with like your vision board that people do, right? But it's like a mindset shift. So when you think about creating a vision for your life, you actually have to kind of do a mindset shift of like, you can actually do it, right? So you're going to have to write down and tell yourself that you can do that. And I know this sounds silly, but it's like writing encouragements in the mirror. My mom used to have me do this when I felt negative about myself. I'd write positive things physically and inside that I loved about myself. The same thing with this too. We have to literally tell ourselves and convince ourselves that we actually can go and live this, because half the time we're like looking at this vision, we're looking at this goal that we're seeing in front of us, and we're like, that looks like a big mountain. I don't know if I really want to climb that. So you have to actually take mindset steps in order to go after this vision.
Yes.
So one thing that I do, and I know my mom does, is we practice, she's going to say this forever and ever and ever. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of hearing this, Holly. And she's going to be like, I don't care. But it's gratitude. She will speak
Absolutely.
on this. She will speak on this. But what I'm saying is writing down gratitude and then writing where you actually want to go and envisioning that. I know for journaling for me has been a big thing where I write down, and express like, this is what I see, this is what I want, this is what I'm excited for. And that has helped me envision what I'm excited for the future, and actually take little steps throughout the year and throughout the days, because I do it throughout the year, to actually like go after what my vision is. And then the gratitude is what grounds me in it, and is like, look at what is already around me and appreciate everything that's around me. But my mom she is the gratitude queen. So I cannot speak to it.
I'm the gratitude guru. No, I just love gratitude because it totally transforms how you look at where you're at in life and where you want to go. I think a lot of times when we have a big vision, we see kind of a big, valley between where we are and where we want to go. And we forget all the good things that are filling up that space, getting us to where we want to go. And gratitude just really changes your perspective on just how you see the world. I think it makes you realize how truly blessed you really are. And it's not just about what you don't have already, but it's about what you do have, and what you have right now is enough. And it helps you to realize that what you have within you is enough to get you to where you want to go. You don't need anything else. And that the things that you do need, they're going to come to you through taking action. And I truly believe gratitude just changes our perspective and helps us to just live a more positive life and be more optimistic about our future. And I think a lot of times we look, as humans, we have a tendency, especially like we said with social media, we have a tendency to look at what we lack versus what we have. And gratitude just really brings us back to a reminder of what we have, and that what we have is enough, and that it will just become more, because the more you practice gratitude, the more you see things that you can be grateful for, and your life just becomes more abundant. And that really helps you on your way to whatever it is that you have a vision for your life, because instead of seeing this big, valley of, oh, I don't have, you really just are making a bridge of, blessings to get to where you want to go. And it just helps you to stay positive on your journey and not focus on, what you don't have and where you aren't. It helps you to focus and realize that where you are is a good spot. So
I love that. And,
yeah.
and I love that you said that it reminds you throughout the year of the things that you've achieved. So when you're writing down this vision, one of the things that you can do is you can look back at 2023 or 2024 and write down the things that happened and how grateful you are for those things, and then what you're excited for the future, and write down what you're envisioning, what you're dreaming, what you're so excited for. And then you have a whole entire piece of paper of just a vision for your life. Your values, what you're envisioning, what you're grateful for what has happened and where you're going in the future. And I think it's just so amazing that little steps like this and little things like this can help actually develop you and give you the strength to actually be like, yeah, I can do this, and not feel so lost, if that makes sense. Do I make sense? Because a lot of the times we just get like sidetracked, right? We get lost because there's so much noise, like we talked about at the beginning. And this just is like, I felt like a layout of like exactly what I want and what I'm excited to envision for in 2025 and what I envision for in 2025.
Yeah.
There we go.
I have journals that I have personally been able to look back on, and I think it's such a great reminder for me to see where I was and now to see where I'm at and to see how I've reached different goals and milestones. And I just think it's really important to keep your motivation and your momentum. So I do love the idea of journaling, and I always encourage women to do that because I think it really helps you to be able to look back and be like, wow, I did all that. All right.
I love that. I do journaling too. And I think it's really done that over the years where I got to like go back, see what I've achieved, see what I wanted, and see where I'm at now. One of the things for me when my mom told me to start journaling is I really wanted to travel. And I was like, I want that to be a part of my lifestyle. I really want to travel. I really want to do more of that. And that's what I'm doing. So, yeah.
Yes.
So that was my goal. And now I get to travel with my husband this next year. I'm going to be going all over the US for baseball, which is amazing. But that's like part of the journey. You get to see where you were and where you're going now and envision what you want your future to be like.
Yeah.
So journaling and doing this a couple of years or a couple of months out of the year where you like go back and do all of this, right?
Yes. Totally. That's what I've done is I've been able to write the vision I want for the new year in my journal. And sometimes in 6 months, I'll have to adjust it or whatever. But I love that I can go back and I can look at my vision for that year in the fall, in the new year and say, wow, I really did make it happen. Or, you know what, that goal's still there. I'm going to carry that one into the new year. Or maybe not at all. I'm going to just let that one go and put something new there. So it is
I
really
like
fun to be
that.
able to do that.
Okay, so last thing that we're going to talk about is feeling behind because you just brought up a really good point about maybe not reaching a goal or maybe not seeing a vision in your life happening and feeling behind and being like, oh, I feel like I can't keep up with everyone. Everyone else is going ahead and doing this and da 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 and all that pressure, right? And then we're like, oh, we're stuck. We're feeling behind. And I've definitely have felt that where I'm like, oh my gosh, is something wrong with me where like I haven't achieved certain things? So like how have you felt that in your life, mom, when you were going through things, especially because you had kids very young? She had me at 17. So
Yes. Yes, I actually have felt that. I've felt that many times through my 20s, my 30s, and into my 40s. I think it's easy to feel like that because we start comparing ourselves to other people. And I think it's really important to remember that comparison is the killer of joy and that your life is your life. Your vision for your life is your vision and not someone else. And to remember that, you know, you're going at your pace and your pace is not somebody else's. Life's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think for some people it might be a sprint. For me, it's a marathon and I'm totally fine with that. But to remember your life is yours and it's not somebody else's. And I think that's important to just keep reiterating that comparison is a killer of joy because you want to enjoy your life and you want to not feel like you're behind because you're not. Where you are is where you're supposed to be. And I truly, truly believe that. And the more you can embrace that and stop focusing on what everyone else is doing, the more you're going to find joy and the more you're going to find purpose in where you're at in your life. I truly believe that.
and I think the clearer your vision is going to get.
Yeah.
So the more you stop comparing yourself to XYZ, whatever it may be, you are actually going to have a clear vision of actually what you want. And that's difficult to do at first because you do have to shut out all that noise that we were talking about earlier. But the more you do that, the more you get clear about who you are and what you value and what you want, the clearer the vision becomes and the more you can go after it. And that is what is so cool about this. And as in your teens, you're developing a lot about who you are. And then when you get into your 30s, like you said, you're like, I had a lot more knowledge of who I am, what I wanted, what I didn't. And I got a little bit more confident. And I'll say that too, but it also took me going through a lot of what I'm going through right now. And even right now at 28, I'm like, I feel more confident than ever, but I also still struggle with certain things. And I'm going to keep on learning lessons and I'm going to keep on developing certain things. But where I was at 21 is completely different from who I am at 28. And to remember that it's a journey as well, and that there's reasons why you're experiencing certain things. And you on the other side is usually grateful and is like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I learned that. And I have a clear vision of who I want to be and who I want to impact as well. And I think legacy is a part of this whole conversation of vision. You know, I think a lot of girls in their 20s don't think about legacy and what they want to leave behind. It's something that we often think about when we're older, but I've been around, you know, so many women who are like legacy, legacy, legacy. I'm like, yeah, I think about how do you want to impact people now? How do you want people to remember you? What legacy do you want to leave behind? And even if that's your children, what legacy do you want to leave behind in your children and instill in your children? So I think that is a huge part of my vision going into 2025 is what sort of legacy do I want to leave behind and impact I want to leave behind.
Yeah, I agree. I think legacy is a big part of whatever vision you're building because what is that saying? It's not what you give to people, but what you leave in people. Is that it? I don't think I'm
I don't
saying
know.
it
I
right.
don't.
It's what you leave with them basically, like how did you impact their life? How did you
Got
touch
it.
their
Okay.
lives? So
Yes.
it's not like, what you give to them physically as a gift or, the money you give them, it's how you touch their lives or whatever. Anyways, I'm totally
How you
butchering
make
that.
them feel.
Exactly. So, anyways, I
It's
totally
not
agree with.
actions, it's feelings.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And I think a lot of times we forget when we're building our vision board. So when we're building a vision for our life, we think about, like you said, putting the Range Rover, the house, the dog, the clothes, whatever. But we forget that building a vision for our life isn't just about stuff or achieving a career goal or anything like that. It's about how do we want to feel? Who do we want to
Mhm.
be? It includes what experiences do we want to have and how do we want to experience our life. So it's
Yep.
all those things. It's not just one or the other. It's a multitude of things. And so it's really important to explore all the things that we've talked about so that you can build a vision that really encompasses all the ways that you want to live your life.
I love that. Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, this was our vision episode, guys. If you enjoyed it, or if you're actually going to like write down some of these things, take a photo of it. I know that sounds silly. We'd love to see it if you're willing to share with us and encourage you with that. So, you can send that to us on social media.
Yes, send it to us on Instagram. Follow us. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any episode ideas that you want to share or topics you want us to talk about, DM us. We would love to hear from you. And if you liked this episode, please share it and like and subscribe.
And in this place, you're never alone. You can always
Call your mom.